What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, this is a different one today. I wanted to talk about, alright, so I watched the Ninja Theory, Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, something. It was basically, it was more of an introspective of the mental health side of things, not so much the game. They talked about the game a little bit, but in relation to mental health, psychosis and such. And so I watched that whole thing. If you are not interested in anything like that, if you're not interested in, ancillary things regarding video games, or you just want to play a game and be entertained, then don't watch it, because it's only for people who are like, oh, okay, think about psychosis. Or maybe you have somebody that maybe a family member, maybe a friend, maybe an acquaintance that has some sort of psychosis. For me, I believe there's a spectrum, of course, depending on the severity of the PTSD, if you will. You know what? I noticed a sidebar. A lot of people, when they're referring to PTSD, they leave the D off, the disorder part, because I guess it seems like it's a disease or something, or disorder, and they just, post-traumatic stress. Okay. Either way, I'm used to saying PTSD, but it's all good. I'll play. But back to it. So they had two people up there that suffered from, the protagonist of the game, Senua's affliction, PTSD. And it's interesting, the insight of a person who kind of goes through these things, goes through the hallucinations, and their reality is different from objective reality, if that makes sense. And the funny thing is, I know someone like this. I had an experience with a person like this who had their subjective reality, and then there's objective reality. And the objective reality was that, I was accused of doing something, basically, right? Without getting into details. And of course, it didn't happen. I mean, many things I was accused of, and all these things didn't happen. In this person, in their mind, it was true, regardless of the facts, regardless of any evidence or anything like that, right? So I'm like, okay, I mean, there's an impasse. This person believes it. I'm on the other side where it's like, didn't happen. So, what can you do? But, I have first-hand experience with dealing with a person like that. So I'm like, oh, okay. And watching this gave me a little bit more insight. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I can't hate this person or hate on this person because they obviously have some sort of psychosis. And, a lot of it, how they explain it is because of a childhood trauma or unresolved childhood trauma, or, generally speaking, a childhood trauma. And it manifests in different ways. People kind of process all that stuff differently. So all the things that happen in the game of Senua's Saga, Senua's Sacrifice, the first one and the second one, that is representative of how some people's lives are, how they observe, their reality. This is how their reality is. They're hearing voices, they're seeing hallucinations and such. And so for them, that's reality because they're hearing your voices. We don't hear them, but they hear them in their own head. And so when that happens, it's like, well, I feel, I have to feel empathetic for people like that, because it's like, what can you do? What can you do? I don't want to say to help them, because unless they want help, or I don't want to be like, oh, they need help. And then you get into the kind of realm where it's like, oh, I know what's best for you as a human, so I'm gonna, like, no. I mean, some people may be fine with their voices and stuff, Who knows? They may be the happiest person on the planet, hearing all their friends and stuff talking to them all the time, seeing stuff, seeing pink elephants or whatever they see. I don't know. And so, who am I to deny the kid a try, if you will? But, it's a crazy topic. I know this isn't video games, and we got to talk about other stuff too. We can talk about ponies and ducks and unicorns all day long, but this is kind of important stuff as well. And my main thing, kind of shifting it into video game wars, if you will, console wars. Microsoft, Senua, Ninja Theory, they're sitting there and they're doing things proactively to help and support psychosis, or people with psychosis and mental health issues, right? Now, on the other side, on Sony's side, what do? Oh, they put a colorblind thing, Spider-Man, so people would say, that's fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And they've gotten praise for how, accessibility options are really great, and PlayStation is really good about that. But they don't have any game that's like Hellblade. They don't have any game that's like Hellblade 2 that's coming up. Now, Hellblade, the first one, was exclusive for a time. That's because Sony paid for it. Of course, you know the deal. But now that Ninja Theory has money, they got that big Microsoft bank account. They don't need to do things like that. They can be creative. They can do whatever they want when it comes to games. And they said in their talk they're a little bit risky as a indie store. I forgot how they describe themselves as, but they are like an indie bunch of gang of bandits, basically. There's 80 of them made Hellblade 2, and I'm like, shh. And look what it looks beautiful. How can Ninja Theory with 80 people make Hellblade 2, right? And then you look at Uncharted, Last of Us 2. How many people? 90,000 people worked on that? It's like 2,000 people worked on that. And it cost $59 million. I'm sorry, it's more than that. $590 million. That's closer to the number. I'm just saying. But back to the point of what studios over at PlayStation are kind of doing these things that are a little bit more than just entertainment, just a game, And the person, I forgot his name. Eddie was his name. He was on stage and he was, discussing stuff. He was the one who had the psychosis. I think he may be on the path to healing. But anyway, he was grateful to Ninja Theory for treating him with respect, treating the subject matter with respect, and giving him and others like him the opportunity to show the world and help the world understand that type of psychosis, or psychosis in general. And this is what I'm talking about it's little things like this that any industry, any genre, any type of business can do good for humanity, right? But you think video games or movies, not really. There's very few movies that do this. There are some, of course. Video games, sure there maybe are, but they went deep. They partnered with these people. It was a it wasn't a collaboration. What they co-authorship? I forgot what they called it, but they literally made the game together. And then without Eddie and there was another lady up there. Without them, they couldn't have made the game because they needed the firsthand experience and insight of an actual person who has this type of experience, And that's how they were able to translate it. They talked to him, translate it, make sure. And he said, I would play this and it would take me back to, episodes or whatever that would happen to him. And I'm like, whew. That's a little, I don't want to say dangerous, but, if it were bad episodes, then, sometimes maybe it's good. Maybe you got a purple elephant sitting there, his name is Charlie, and he's like, what's up? And you're like, yo, Charlie, how you doing? And you're just having a conversation. Just talking about, the world and stuff. That's not so bad. I talk to myself all the time. Like I said, it's probably, there may be a spectrum of that psychosis. Pretty sure all of us have a drop of lizard brain in there. Some of us have too much. You know, some of our brain wires are a little crossed, but I would say, I mean, bottom line is, as long as, you know, we don't hurt each other, you know, just try to be nice. I got that from somebody. I forgot who it was. It wasn't Colt Eastwood, because he got it from somebody else too. So anyway, I listened to their show too. Honestly, I liked it better with Gas on the show, to be honest. I mean, Mag is cool. Mag is cool, but, you know, Gas is just, I like Gas better. But Gas is kind of a pony bot in a sense, because he's been, you know, him and others have been, you know, trumpeting the 30 frames per second narrative. And also, a little more tangents, the whole, whatchamacallit, I'm totally losing my train of, my subway of thought is losing power. It's derailing. It was the doom and gloom. I was listening to, I think it was the Lord's. Yeah, Lord's podcast. No, it wasn't Lord's. I forgot what podcast it was. But everybody is like doom and gloom as far as they were like, oh man, the bad news of Xbox, blah, blah, blah. You know, no. And I'm like, y'all idiots. I wish I could jump through the internet and smack y'all, because you're falling for the tricks. You're falling for their foolishness. There was no bad news. They made it seem like it's bad. Oh, 30 frames. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what are you talking about? That's not bad news. Like King said, you want 60 frames, it's available. It's not like you can't have 60 frames. It's not like it's impossible to do 60 frames on Hellblade 2 when it comes out. It is possible. So make it possible for yourself. That's it. But what is happening is the weak Xbots, the rusty Xbots, are falling for the narratives. The ponies and the donkey unicorns are creating these narratives of, oh, 30 frames is bad, this and then the third, blah, 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 Xbox sucks, right? And the weak Xbots, pony bots, whatever you want to call them, they're feeding into it by saying, oh, all this bad news, all this bad news. There's no bad news. This is just a bunch of ponies and donkey unicorns crying because they're not getting the game. Just buy Xbox, that's all I'm saying. Look, they're not getting the game, they're crying about it, they're going to make up any excuse they can to make it look bad, and it's not bad. And the thing is, I know for a fact that Microsoft and Phil and all of them are looking at this and like, why? This is not even a big deal. But they kind of have to treat it like a big deal because of how sensitive some people are out here in the internet. So, yeah, they're in a not so great situation, but cooler heads will prevail. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But anyway, enough rambles. I will let me know in the comments below what y'all think about the Hellblade thing with the Psychosis and like I said, if you're interested in kind of Psychosis, and I mean it's a long talk. It's full of one dude talking for like an hour in the beginning, and I was like, but I had just had it in the background, so it was cool. And he had a British accent, so that was cool. But you know, if you guys watch it, listen. It's long, and they don't talk about the game a lot, so I'm just warning y'all. I'm just saying. But if you want to know a little bit more about Psychosis and stuff, and how they handled it in the game, and why they did certain things with the character Senua in the game and stuff, then I would say listen to the second half. That's when they talk about the game itself. But the first half is just the intro with the dude, and he's he had a lot of stuff to say. I was like, had nothing to do with video games. It was awesome. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. And also stuff. My brain is on fumes, and I gotta go to the gym and make my muscles big. But anyway, I appreciate y'all for real. And I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Wait.